This is the first Sunday of Advent, a season that's celebrated all around Christendom. A time in which we light this candle of faith and hope today. We light candles in our churches, and more importantly here, we light this candle of hope and faith in our own hearts. This time of year is a perfect time to be still, to focus inward and call upon the faith that fills us again and again with a sense of hope. Thank you, Reverend Johanna. If you haven't grown up in a traditional Christian church where Advent was the journey you made, usually from the end of November until Christmas time, I'll just bring you up to date a little bit. The word Advent comes from a Latin word, adventus. It means simply arrival. In a metaphysical sense, it can mean, and I adopt this for myself, an expectation of and preparation for the coming into consciousness of our own divine nature, our infinite potential, because this Christ energy is alive in us. This word adventus also gives rise to another intriguing term, adventure, which carries with it a sense of a little bit of risk, a bit of daring. But I'm not talking about jumping off a cliff in Rio de Janeiro, tethered side by side to the World Hang Gliding Championship in 1985. Somebody I know chose to do that. But this is the daring and the risk of making a personal commitment to this divine presence within us, discovering it, unwrapping it as a gift, and fully expressing this nature of the Christ presence. As we move through these weeks of Advent, let this be your journey, your adventure, the expansion and full expression of all that you were called to be in this life, letting loose that Christ energy out into the world through you. In many Christian traditions, the first Sunday of Advent would be the Sunday of faith. But we combine them here in unity to anticipate this arrival, the birth of the Christ child centuries ago. In unity, we combine hope and faith together as we celebrate this coming arrival. Hope is optimism for the future, and faith is the holy and creative spark of energy that happens right now. The knowing that what we desire is in the right now, present tense, in the energy of God. What is it that you hope for this season? And how will faith propel and anchor you in that desire? Whatever you might be anticipating, this feeling of hopefulness is just the beginning. And faith carries you the rest of the way. Whether that's some desire in your own life or in this community where we are all a little bit on tenterhooks about when's that new minister coming. We hope for the future, and we know with certainty that the future will unfold perfectly out of the energy of God. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, wrote this about hope and faith. Hope is the expectation of good in the future. It's a quality, good enough as it goes, of our human mind, because it is under and subject to the procession of time, the movement of time. Faith, on the other hand, is a certain knowing, the absolute knowledge that our good is here right now. We already possess it in the realm of God, in the mind of God. Faith, being of God, goes beyond time and space. not controlled by that. Now, that's a tricky concept for us humans who, look at my nice big watch. We are moving our physical experience through that flow of time. God flows infinitely, not in the limitation of time and space. This is one of the reasons we speak potently. Ralph does it so powerfully every Sunday morning. This strong affirmation that we recognize we are always in the right time, in the right place, with the right people, right now. We call that divine order unfolding, and we choose to anchor ourselves in that knowing in all circumstances of our life. It's about knowing that our good is present no matter what it looks like right now. No matter if I have some idea about I like it or I don't like it. Faith anchors us in the realization that we are in the midst of God always. God is always in the midst of us. It took me a long time to really understand the power of faith, and I believe it hangs on one important concept. God is centered in you. God is centered in me. God is the true essence of your being. If you choose, place your hand on your heart and repeat after me. I am centered in God. Oh, let's have some more juice, people. I am centered in God. Thank you when you play along with. Thank you, Jimmy. I heard you out there. God is centered in me. And so it is always and always. The question is, what do I have my consciousness centered in? Can I more than wrap my hands and my heart around this idea that God exists everywhere, including in the midst of me, in all moments? Or do I have thoughts that center me in ideas about materiality of our physical life? Do I get centered and focused on the difficulties that I might feel are taking place in my life or in the world? Am I centered on the news of the day? Turn off that constantly negative news, people, and get centered in this idea of God. It's very helpful to let go of the idea that life is happening to us. Rather, life is flowing through us. The energy of God is centered in me. I forget plenty of times. And sometimes I tap myself right here and say, hey, you, wake up. Remember this truth. God is centered in me. This is a kinesthetic movement that tells your physical energy field that you are speaking truth right here, right now. God is centered in me. The kingdom of all potentiality, the kingdom of heaven, every possibility is alive within us when we are in this flow of God. This is a positive faith that is a key to this living in the kingdom. And that was Jesus, this fellow whose birth we await and we celebrate. This was his message. This kingdom is alive right here, right now. There's no place else to look. There's nothing to wait for. There is only to step into the realization of this truth. God is right here, right now, in all of my life, in everything I'm doing, in this community, in my family, in my workplace, in the world. And your human mind says, oh, I can give you plenty of evidence that that is not true. Yes, we can run that list of everything that we think might be wrong, every criticism, every judgment we have, or we can say, I choose to live beyond the time and space of what my eyes can see and breathe into the space of God. I choose to release my own magnificence, this God energy, this Christ nature, into the world because that's what serves us all. I choose to release my own imprisoned splendor, as the poet said. Simply, we want to get our consciousness centered in God. In this realization that the whole of the universe conspires for our good. Imagine that this cosmic energy believes in you so fully that you are empowered to do everything that your heart and your soul call you to give to the world, call you to bring to your own life, call you to gift to everyone around you. That's being centered in God, knowing that you are equipped to live in this magnificence. Hear that chime of God giving emphasis to that word, magnificence in you. Thank you for that good timing. We want to know that the whole universe is flowing into us so that we can flow that good into the world, so that we can experience that whole and complete good in our own lives. The simple part again, accept it. Let it be alive in you. The Beatles were on something. Let it be. Let yourself be directed out of that space of God, that centered presence of God, with a full believing attitude that this is how life works, and I am in the flow of that infinite power of life. The psalmist said, "Be still. Be still. And know that I am God." To believe in God really means to believe in yourself. If God's not out there, no, yes, out there and everywhere present. But when we can grasp, when we can live in the energy that God is right here, and you believe in God, I believe in God, then I must also believe in my own awareness, my own centered presence, my own consciousness of that God life within me in every moment. Now, it's fine to trust our human capabilities. Those too are a gift. But I'm talking about believing in the truth of your being as a divine energy, a divine being. This too exists within each of us. Be still and know that I am God. So we are called to practice this power of faith. And it starts from the very centered place within us, the ground level of our being, the ground on which we stand, our consciousness connected to this sense of oneness, to this all-pervasive energy throughout the universe, and that includes me. To know that the whole universe pours itself through us. Sometimes I do a meditation that coming in through the crown chakra, I can feel energy from the farthest stars in the cosmos, that radiating light, that force of passion, of fire, of God itself rushes into my crown chakra and moves all the way down through my body, filling my energy field. A group called Heart Math have studied our human energy field, believing it's a tangible force. And do you know that you sit in a sphere that's about 25 feet across? So my size number might be pretty small, but my energy fills the width of this platform. Can you feel the light, the energy that's in the space where you are? Can you feel how it's magnified by the, 30 or 40 of us in the room today? And it's not limited by that physical time and space. Remember, so we include all of you watching at home. This energy of God permeates everything, and we move with that. Believing that we are part of that empowers the goals of our heart, the desires that come forth from our soul, the hope for some future event. This is divine law working through us for a greater good. To really understand this power of faith, Again, I return to the word always. And always. 2 words. Faith is a present activity. It's natural to us. Like seeing, like breathing, like hearing, like faithing. Make it into a verb. We are faithing individuals. It's never gone somewhere. It's not uncommon to hear, I've lost my faith. I can't find what pillow on the sofa I left it under. Faith doesn't go anywhere. We might untether ourselves from this anchor in the spiritual truth, but faith is innate to us. Our problem is not so much that it's missing, but it's where we have put it in our misplacement. Sometimes we put our faith in worry about our bills, concern for where we're living when we've received a notice of we have to move. We put our faith in concern for the world events that we're watching on the nightly news. We put our fear into the energy of our own health when something seems to go awry. Worry, concern, fear. Only one of them starts with F, but they're all a form of faith. It's not that faith goes away, it's that we forget we have the power to choose where we put our faith. And that's what we're called to in this adventure of discovery in the season of Advent, to place our faith firmly in knowing that God is centered in our whole being, heart, mind, and spirit. I think I've discovered a part of the Christmas story most of us might not be familiar with. It's a bit unusual. It's not contained in the scriptures, but I think you'll like it. It's about the other wise man. It's his faith-filled story about this 4th wise man, Artaban. He was a Persian magi, and he was supposed to join up with those other 3 fellows in their very famous gifts and wait for that star that announced the birth of the Christ. Well, the star appears, but Artaban, as he sets off on his pilgrimage with his own unique and special gift, a whole bag full of precious gemstones for this Christ child, on his way, he kind of gets waylaid and distracted by some people he comes across that are in need. He stops to support a dying fellow traveler. And he's so delayed in his journey that he shows up late at the point where he's meeting his compatriots, and he discovers the other wise men have left him. He's on his own in this journey. Artaban's not dismayed. He picks up his pouch of gemstones in his travel bag, and off he goes on the journey, following his fellow wise men. But, along the way, he had to stop and help some other people. He was called to be in service, and he answered that call. So he doesn't arrive in Bethlehem until those 3 other guys, they've already celebrated the birth. That's long done. The 3 men have hit the road the other direction, and the Holy Family even have gone on to escape the murderous plot of King Herod, and they've left for Egypt. Nobody at the inn, as they say. And Artaban wondered what to do next. Well, he decided he wanted to experience the presence of the Christ, and so he was going to follow this child. 30 years long, Artaban sought to run across the path of Jesus. And along the way, he spent his gift, all of his precious stones, in service for those people he found along the way. He bought a mother and child their freedom when they kind of got into the sights of the soldiers that Herod had in pursuit of Jesus. Later on, he saved another woman who was about to be sold into slavery. It seems always that his faith-filled journey of finding the Christ met with delay after delay because he got all tangled up in the idea that whoever he met that had a need, if he could solve it, it was his to do. So finally, he comes to the end of his life. He's dying, feeling like a failure because he didn't ever meet this powerful presence that had come into the world. He failed in his spiritual journey to greet the Christ as it arrived. But in his final moments, Jesus appears to Artaban, assuring him that all the acts across these many years of kindness, of compassion, of giving, he had unknowingly been the Christ presence. It was never his to need to seek that energy elsewhere. He possessed it, he listened to the call of his heart, and he willingly gave that gift everywhere he was. We may each of us have a little Artaban in our hearts and minds as we enter this season of wonder and the rebirth of the Christ child. Sometimes we get overwhelmed with the obligations and responsibilities we hold to ourselves. We can become distracted by the challenges of our life. Oh, if only I didn't have to do everything that was on my to-do list. If only others didn't expect so much of me. If only I didn't become 12 again when I crossed the threshold of my mother's home. If only I could be focused on my spiritual goal, to be more loving, to be more present, to be more Christ-like. So that's what I give into the world. Not the if-onlys in my mind. The story of Artaban, the fourth wise man, reminds us that expressing this Christ energy is not a goal so much as a process. We are uncovering our own gemstones each step of the journey. We may seek the destination, but the important part is the journey we are on. We have the opportunity to be the Christ presence for everyone we come across, whatever timing we are on. We can meet everyone with an act of kindness, with empathy, with compassion, with a willingness to be in service. We can offer the greatest gift of all, simply to be the face of love. The power and energy of the most creative force in the universe, we carry that within us. What's that affirmation? I am centered in God, and God is centered in me, and therefore I am the full expression of God love and God light. So as we move forward, approaching the coming sacred events of Christmas, let's try to not be harried and overwhelmed. As a girlfriend of mine a long time ago used to say, let's not get all hairpins and shoelaces. No. Or kapakahi, as we might say here. Let's not arrive at Christmas morning full of any regret, any anxiety, feeling deflated, feeling like we've failed in our spiritual goal. No, in these coming weeks, let's invite ourselves into the experience, into the adventure, to dare, to risk, to be willing to be the Christ presence right here, right now. Not waiting for conditions to be perfect, not waiting for my health to be better, not waiting for all the planets to align. No. God is centered in me, and I am centered in God are the only conditions I need to step fully into the experience of the Christ within. This is our gift of precious stones to be spent along the way, not held in the pouch, waiting to greet one individual, one experience, but given freely along the way. That presence, the art of love. There is nothing of more value, and certainly nothing is more needed in this world right now. And you are the perfect one to give that gift. Each of us. perfect because we have found the Christ that we seek right where it was all along, right here, within. I invite us to take a deep breath into that space of the Christ presence, already alive, already within us. Let this journey of discovery be simply the unfolding knowing of what you are called to do and be and give in the world. Let your Adventus be the experience of expanding your mind, your heart, the whole of your energy field into this space of deep truth that you are the gift the world is waiting for. You are the presence that allows the Christ to be born again into this world. You are the light. You are the face of love. And this is what we are called to shine, to give, to be in the world. God is centered in me, and I am centered in God. Let us rest in the stillness in this truth.